And welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited about today's webinar, which, as you know, is going to cover essentially everything you need to know about the National Youth Forum coming up in 2015. We're going to go for about half an hour, and then, as Brandy said, we will have some time for questions, but feel free to input them in the chat box as we go along as well. So I will start by sharing the agenda for today's webinar. I'm going to start by sharing a bit about the 2015 theme, which was selected by the National Youth Council, and its fusion. So I'll tell you a bit about that in a minute. We're also going to talk about the confirmed date and the location of the forum. I'm going to give you an overview of all the things that will make this forum very unique and exciting and make you all want to come and send youth over. And then we're going to review some of the eligibility requirements, both for youth and staff participants. We're going to give you a few fundraising ideas to start thinking about as you do your planning to make it to the forum. And then finally, we're going to share a little bit about where we are with planning the program for the forum and also how you might contribute to that if you're interested. So Fusion 2015, many of you may know this already, but we're working hard in collaboration with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Winnipeg, as well as the Winnipeg Youth Council and the National Youth Council to bring together 160 club youth and staff from all over the country for a really fantastic experience. So the theme that was selected for 2015 is Fusion, and the idea with that is really to have an opportunity to explore Canadian diversity and to learn about differences and commonalities across Canada. The National Youth Council actually put together a few points that I'll go over. But basically, this is what they want club youth to get out of the experience. They want youth to share stories of finding and exploring their identities. They want to come together as a family of diverse cultures. They want to engage in new experiences and learn about each other. They want to create inclusive environments of understanding, respect, and interaction. And perhaps most importantly, they want to fuse leadership skills, cultures, identities, and experiences for a fantastic experience that they will remember forever. So the forum is taking place in Winnipeg this year, and it's going to be hosted at the University of Manitoba from May 6th to 10th, so that's a Wednesday to Sunday. The University of Manitoba is fantastic. It's the province's biggest university with over 30,000 students from all across Canada and internationally, so we're excited to be coming together at such a great location. We're really looking forward to that. Now, why attend? As I mentioned, the conference program will be a lot of fun. It's going to provide a lot of opportunities for both youth and staff. So, for example, there's going to be workshops and learning opportunities to engage youth in gaining new skills. We're going to build a really interactive program and really encourage young people that are present to try new things. It's going to be an opportunity for youth to travel to different parts of the country and get to know club youth from all over Canada, so connecting in that way will be important. There's going to be lots of opportunities for discussion as well as social opportunities for youth to share their ideas, their experiences, and to learn from each other. As representatives of their clubs, youth will have opportunities to share the great work that's going on locally at their clubs, kind of in a national platform. And most of all, it's going to be a great bonding experience so that clubs from all over the country can come together, share best practices, continue sharing the work that they're doing, and doing that not only during the conference, but extending it beyond the 5 days that we're there. So let's talk a little bit about eligibility and thinking about who to send to the conference. Keep in mind that you know your youth best, and so you guys are the best people to figure out who it makes the most sense to send. Do be advised that the workshops and program are generally aimed at youth grades 10 to 12. So when thinking about who to send, think about young people who demonstrate exceptional leadership, who are going to do a very good job as sort of ambassadors of your club, and who are going to be able to represent your club among other representatives from across Canada. Don't be afraid to send only 1 or 2 youth with a staff member. If you're only sending 1 or a couple of youth from your club, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to meet new people, so that's never an issue. So a few things that are really important to keep in mind when you're selecting who to send. They must be between 14 and 18 years old at the time of the forum. Most most participants at the forum will be 15 to 17. Make sure that you select youth who will be excellent representatives of your club. As I mentioned before, youth can come as a group or as individuals, but they all must be accompanied by staff because the staff will be responsible for them for the duration of the conference. Generally, the ratio that we are looking to get is 1 staff for every 6 youth, and that is flexible, but we just don't want staff to be overwhelmed with too many youth to be responsible for. And at the time of the conference, the staff that you send must be at least 20 years old. The forum cost, the early bird rate this year is $350, and then the regular rate is $400. I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail shortly. But registration fees do include everything for the conference except for travel, so that means food, accommodations, access to the full program, and day trips are all included in the registration cost. And we are working hard to try to provide support for travel where possible. So nothing has been confirmed yet, but we will be trying to provide things like WestJet vouchers to cover at least some of the cost of travel for clubs. However, because it's not confirmed, for the time being, as you're planning, assume that there is no funding for that. So this is just to give you a bit of an overview of what the registration timeline is going to look like. Today is very exciting because our registration package is going to be available. You can access it on Scoop, and it will also be accessible on the BJCC events website under National Youth Forum. The early bird registration will open on February 11th of next year, and like I said, that's at $350. And that goes until March 8th. So on March 9th of 2015, regular registration will open, and that's $400. All registration will close on April 6th at midnight. And on that same day, any pending payments will be due, and it's also the deadline for cancellations, which is very important because if we receive late cancellations, so any cancellations after April 6th, they will be subject to a fee of $200 per canceled registration. And finally, on April 10th, any permission forms, waivers, etc., you will be required to submit those through the online system. So I want to go through all of that in a little bit more detail. As I mentioned, the registration package is going to be available today. So as I said, either Scoop or the BGCC website is where you can get that. And the package includes an overview of the conference and basically everything that you need to get organized and to prepare for registration. The reason we're launching the registration package before opening up registration this year is really to give you an opportunity to collect all the information that you need in advance of registering. So this includes selecting the youth who are going to attend, getting all the information that you need so that once you access the registration system, when it opens on February 11th, you're able to input all that information. It's really important because this year you will not be able to input dummy data. So maybe in previous years you were able to put in things like Youth 1, Youth 2. This year we're giving you a little bit more time to prepare, and that way you'll be able to put in the precise information for your registration. Another thing to keep in mind is that registration forms should not be sent to the national office. All registration information will be put into the online registration system that opens on February 11th. So please don't send us paper copies of your registration forms. Those are really just for your reference and to help you get organized. And the system that we use to register will be very simple. If you've registered before, it's the same one that was used in 2013.
I'll just show everyone what we're talking about.
Sure.
Here's what the registration package looks like. There's registration forms, and it looks like this. So both staff and delegates have registration forms to fill out. There'll be 2 different packages, though, one for staff and one for delegates. So this registration form here is what Vivian was referring to. This is what you'll get the club staff who are attending as well as the delegates to fill out. And then there are things like the permission forms and waivers, all the signed consent forms, those will have to be sent in to us by email or fax, but the registration form is what you keep for your reference at your club. So that's just to show you what Vivian was speaking about. And all these, the participation guidelines, the medical release, permission forms, authorization forms, all the signed waivers and permission forms will have to be sent to us.
Thanks, Brandy. Yeah, so that's basically how that's going to work. So as I said, early bird registration opens on February 11th, and then regular rate registration opens on March 9th. After you've registered, you're going to receive a second package, and that will be the confirmation package, and that will include more specific information about the conference. So, for example, the program, the schedule, day trip options, workshop options, packing lists, all that stuff will come after you register. At this point, once you receive your confirmation package, you'll have time to make selections about things like day trips and workshops, and then you will need to sign back into your online registration in order to select things like day trips and workshop options. You need to do this before registration closes on April 6th. And as we mentioned before, no paper copies of registration package are required, but as Brandy said, we will need you to send paper copies of your waiver forms and permission forms. So you can mail those to us by April 10th. And there's a checklist in the registration package that explains everything that I just said very, very clearly. So fundraising, part of your planning, of course, will involve ensuring that your club has the funds required to send youth and staff to the forum. And fundraising will probably be an important part of that process. So these are just some ideas that the NYC helped put together to get you started. So sometimes boards will match funds. Others might approve paying for the full cost of sending youth and staff. Present to them why it's valuable to send people to the conference, and then maybe when you come back, if they provide some support, do a report on the experience and how it went. Reaching out to local businesses is a really great way to do it as well, seeking out sponsorship from businesses that might be interested in getting involved. Having events like dances or carnivals could be another way to fundraise, and then the holidays are coming, so taking advantage of cold weather and selling things like baked goods and hot chocolate, or having raffles for handmade items could be an interesting way to do it. So of course the ideas for this are endless. I think it's also really important to take time to hash it out with the youth that are going to be attending and figuring out the best way for them to fundraise at your club. And also the NYC are always very happy to provide ideas for fundraising, so if that's something that you're interested in, they'd be very happy to connect. So the forum program, we're still working out the details of this, but a few things that we're really looking forward to, and we think you will too. We're going to have some very engaging speakers. We have Sabrina Jalise, and she's our confirmed keynote. We're going to have swag bags full of great stuff, of course, interactive workshops. We've been talking about things like dance and music and poetry, storytelling, cooking. There will be a dance, probably a talent show, and we've been playing around with the idea of having an outdoor movie screening. Now, we are still in the planning stages, so we are looking for staff who are interested in signing up to be workshop facilitators. As I said, we're looking for hands-on interactive workshops. So if you have a skill or something interesting that you'd like to share, we would love to hear from you. Please get in touch, and we can definitely make sure that you have a space to facilitate. And that's essentially it. We're really excited about the forum. We're excited to see all of you there. Just hopefully this information will help you go back to your club and go back to your youth to start planning to get as many youth as possible to the forum. If you have any feedback, suggestions, ideas, or questions, please let us know. We will have a question period shortly, but if, as we're leading up to the conference, we want to hear from you, so please get in touch. And here's our contact information if you'd like to get in touch with any of us. So I think with that, we can move into questions.
If you have questions, just type them into the chat box and send to everyone. Any questions? We gave you all the goods and you don't want to know anything else? I'll just wait for a minute or so. I saw some people, they came on a little later in the webinar. Can you please type your name in your chat, sorry, I keep on saying that, type your name and your club name into the chat box, please, while we're waiting for some questions. Hi, Samantha. Oh, here we go. We got a question. Any other requirements for staff accompanying youth to the forum? I saw briefly on one of the forms that staff need to have been a full-time employee of the club for at least a year. Any other requirements for staff?
No, not really. I mean, the staff that's accompanying youth needs to be at least 20 at the time that they're there.
I'll zoom into the staff participation guidelines. Okay, must have a minimum of 1 year full-time Boys and Girls Club employment experience. And must be at least 20. There's expectations listed in the delegate guidelines that you can refer to in that package. No alcohol or drug use or possession. Adhere to smoking rules along with delegates.
But I think when you're selecting the person to send, just keep in mind age and then, you know, their employment status. So making sure that they've been at the club for at least a year full time.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Hi, it's Marisa. I'm hopping in too. Just another thing to consider is that often we end up breaking up rooming by gender, and whenever possible we do that by floor. So that's not to say that you can't bring a co-ed group and only a male or a female staff, but you may want to take that into consideration. So if you're sending a full group of male youth, it may be more appropriate to send a male staff so that he'll be roomed near your youth versus sending a female staff who would end up being sleeping on a different floor. So just something to take into consideration as well.
Yeah. Okay. We have another question. Is the cost for staff the same for delegates?
Yes. So the registration cost is just that. It's $350 early bird and $400 regular. Any other questions?
Okay. The first point on the staff participation guidelines. So the requirement is set as a minimum of 1 year.
Yeah, so that means that the staff person that you send should have been employed for a minimum of 1 year at the club as a full-time staff.
It's flexible.
It is flexible, but that's just a general guideline.
Yeah. You just go on.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, as with most things here, we are flexible, but we need to be able to communicate about it. So if that's a concern, if you have somebody in mind who hasn't been employed for a year, we did just ask that you communicate with us prior to registering that person and let us know a little bit about the situation. Often that guideline, I believe, was initially set in place to establish you know, a good base level of knowledge and comfort level between the staff and the youth who would be accompanying them. So, you know, those things could be flexible within reason, but just talk to us before signing anybody up who doesn't meet that requirement.
Question, if you are bringing any male youth, you need to have a male staff attending as well?
So no, you don't need to. As Marisa said, it sometimes is a little bit easier if you're sending a group of, say, mostly males or mostly females for the staff to be representative of that so that they can be roomed near the youth that they're supervising, but it's not a requirement.
Any other questions? While we're waiting for questions, I'll just take a few seconds to speak about our upcoming webinar that's happening on Wednesday, January 28th. It'll be at 1 p.m. So just look out for more information about this webinar, like the description and everything in Scoop in the coming weeks. I don't think, oh, here we go. Is there a maximum of youth per club able to go?
That's a good question because it's all relative. So, you know, we say sort of a 1 to 6 staff to youth ratio. I would say if you want to bring significantly more than that 6, certainly you need to have more staffing. If you're looking to go much over that 6 number, I suggest that you just get in touch with us prior we want to make sure that, you know, all clubs that want to come to the conference and try to register in good time have an opportunity to attend. So it can depend, you know, year to year, whether that means that as many people, you know, from one club who want to go can. Certainly the earlier you register, the better your chances are of getting all the spots that you hope to. But again, I'd say if you're looking to go much over that 6 youth mark to just get in touch with us so that we can give you a sense of where things stand. There's no hard and fast rule.
Okay. We'll wait maybe 30 more seconds for another question. Other than that, contact information for Vivian and myself is on the screen. You can contact us at any time if you have any questions. Thank you for joining.